Good evening, Patriots, and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places to be tonight. Chose to be here with me on Super Tuesday. And for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much for joining us for tonight's live broadcast. And yes, it is Super Tuesday, and we're going to be giving you some updates as we go through our show tonight. Let's start by the leading candidate at the moment is Donald J. Trump. And the current list at the moment for delegates is 297 for Trump and 43 for Nikki Haley. And we still have 2,077 delegates left. So it is a big runaway tonight for Donald J. Trump, and pushing one step further to wrapping this all up. Before we get into the night show, let me show you something that my wife was able to get for me today to replace the one that broke into a million pieces. Yes, the grenade cup is back. Oh, yes, indeed. All right. Also want to mention that 2 days ago, I started a poll in my community section right here on the YouTube channel. This poll is still going on. So please take the time to go vote in the poll after tonight's show. It's in the community section. The poll question was pretty simple. It was, would you support me running for the United States Congress? And the options were yes, hell yes, and no. Here are the current stats with over 1,800 votes so far. Yes category is 25%. Hell yes category is 70%, and no is 4%. So as of tonight, out of 1,800 plus that responded, 95% of support for me running for the United States Congress. I thank you, and I'm very humbled beyond belief that you would think that I would make a good member of Congress. You have my word as a man that I will work nonstop to not only make you proud, but make our forefathers proud in the event that I were to be elected into the United States Congress. As you all know that follow this show on a regular basis, I am 100% pro-God, pro-Constitution, pro-military, pro-law enforcement, pro-border security, and pro-conservative values. You have my word that I will stay steadfast on my values and beliefs that were handed down to us, all of us, by our founding fathers for us to protect and pass on to generations to come. So thank you, and please take the time to continue voting. If you haven't already done so, the poll will close this Friday evening at about 5 o'clock. I think it's scheduled to stop. So I appreciate everybody that has taken the time to vote. And I assure you that that will go into the consideration. As I mentioned in recently, that, you know, it's a family decision. It isn't just about me running for Congress, because my whole family would be involved with this. And, you know, I have to take the input of all of them. And what me and my wife have been through with the hateful left attacks for just doing this show, nothing else, is, folks, I could write a book about this. And in fact, I may write a book about this, of just the things that they've done to try and shut me up. And you can't even imagine, trust me, how horrible the left of our society is, and the vicious attacks, whether it's in emails, text messages, our website, comments throughout all my social media platforms. Now, granted, it's only like 1% of all the comments, but regardless, that 1% is really warped-minded and sick, literally mentally sick with some of the crap that they say. And I'll be honest, you know, it wears on you. It definitely wears on my wife. But she says she's on board with whatever decision I make, but yet I'm going to make the decision that's based on what's best for my family. Talked about doing this for a long time. A lot of people have asked me to run for Congress or run for governor, a lot of different things. In the event that I do this, I tell you right now, if I were to be elected to Congress, I would set my sights on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't do things half-ass. I do them all the way. And I know that right now, my calling is to do what I do, which is this show, and share with you what's happening in our world, not just here in America, but across the globe. And I'm so grateful and so thankful that I have such an audience across all the social media platforms that we're on. 1.5 million of you guys. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 1.6 million across all the social media platforms, and that's including the website. So I am very humble and I'm very grateful that so many of you have spoken up and suggested that I run for some type of political office and get more involved in trying to fix the problems we have here in America. And I assure you that if I do that, I will make you proud. Okay, Super Tuesday is that the Supreme Court yesterday sided with Donald J. Trump. They said that individual states do not have the constitutional right to remove someone from a ballot on a federal election. And as you know, there have been several states, starting with Colorado, that decided they're just going to make up the law as they go along, and they're going to take him off the ballot. It was a unanimous decision of both conservatives and the liberal justices. That's the best thing about this. They all said this isn't right and it's unconstitutional. The states that attempted this illegal and unconstitutional move were Colorado, Arizona, California, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, and Rhode Island. Several other states were waiting in the wings to see what the Supreme Court decided on before they did the same thing. It's worth mentioning that those that were involved with doing this in these different states, the judges, the DAs, and there are many, many attorneys that were involved, took the law into their own hands with this move. They tried to be the judge, jury, and executioner. They claimed that Donald Trump committed an insurrection on January 6th. Trump was not, nor has he ever been charged with such a crime. But these idiots decided that Trump was guilty anyway, and they condemned him as such with no due process in the American justice system. Therefore, making a mockery of our justice system and the oath that they took. Every one of them should be disbarred immediately and never allowed to practice law again. Moving on, the Supreme Court's ruling did not set well with the Democrat Party, as one can imagine. Now Democrats are gearing up legislation in reaction to the Supreme Court's decision and will try other means to keep former President Donald Trump off the 2024 ballot in November, because unless they can pull that off, you all know he becomes the next president. Democrat Representative Jamie Raskin, you all know that piece of crap, who, by the way, was also a member of the J6 Select Committee, said he is already crafting federal legislation that would force Trump off the ballot, regardless of what the Supreme Court says. Raskin referenced legislation he introduced back in 2022 with Democrat Representative Debbie Washman Schultz that would allow the Justice Department to sue to keep candidates off the ballot under the 14th Amendment. We're going to revise it in light of the Supreme Court's decision, Raskin said. He suggested that the bill would be a paragraph of resolution that would be declaring that January 6th was an insurrection and that those involved engage in insurrection activity. Trump is facing a number of federal charges related to the 2020 election, as you all know, but he has not been charged with an insurrection. The Supreme Court's ruling Monday, the 9 justices unanimously agreed that states don't have Section 3 enforcement authority, period. House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, slammed the reports from the Democrats. He said Democrats need to get a grip because in this country, the American people decide the next president, not the courts and not the Congress. And I could not agree more. That's exactly how it needs to be. It is up to we, the people, to make those decisions as to who we want to be the president of the United States. Okay, let's take a look real quick at where we're standing with the race. We still have Alaska caucus is out at the moment. Still, we don't have those coming in. In fact, the polls haven't even closed. Alabama, Donald Trump right now is 82.96% to Nikki Haley's 13.33%. Arkansas, Donald Trump is 72.32 to Nikki Haley's 22.24. California is still out. They haven't closed yet. Colorado primary at the moment is Donald Trump 60.57 and Nikki Haley's 35.96. Massachusetts has Donald Trump at 62.23 to Nikki Haley's 34.79. Maybe after tonight, she'll finally drop out. Just guessing. Maine. Wow, Maine has got Donald Trump 71.50 to Nikki Haley's 26.85. And Minnesota right now has Donald Trump at 75% to Nikki Haley's 22.67. And North Carolina, we'll stop at North Carolina for now, Donald Trump at 74.38 to Nikki Haley's 22.78. And they also had Ron DeSantis on the ballot. He got 1.35. So why are the Democrats all upset and want to take Donald Trump off the ballot? What is all this about? Supreme Court comes along and says you can't do it, put him back on the ballot. Now the Democrats up in Washington, D.C. come up with other alternatives and other things they're going to do, trying to remove him off the ballot. Why? Why? Well, with 8 months until Election Day, former President Donald Trump carries voters who say either the economy or immigration is their priority voting issues. And this edge is on the top two issues, gives the Republican frontrunner at a minimum a 2-point advantage over current President Biden in a hypothetical general election matchup. And that is why. The polls show Nikki Haley, Trump's last standing Republican primary challenger, beats Biden by 8 points if she was to be selected. So either way, and the Democrats see that, and it's scaring the shit out of them. Additionally, third-party candidates continue to draw from each major party candidate at a possible 5-way balance. And this is all from current polling. In a potential rematch, the polls find Trump recedes 49% while Biden gets 47%. That's pretty much where it's been since last September of 2023. So for the past 6 months, Democrats are looking at the poll numbers and they're basically in a state of shock. Biden was last ahead in August of 2023, but only by 3 points at the time. The first time the 2024 matchup was tested, it was 44% Biden to 41% Trump, and by 1 point in October, 49 to 48, both times within the margin of error. Trump's advantage comes from record or near record support among key Democratic groups while maintaining strong support with his own base. For instance, 28% of Black voters now are supporting Donald Trump over Biden. That's 7 times as many that supported him 4 years ago. In addition, Trump has a significant support among voters under the age of 30, 51% to Democrats, 8%, with near record support among Hispanics, 48%, and suburban women, 43%. The focus for many will be on Trump's advantage, but his support hasn't wandered much since late fall. Says Republican Darren Shaw, who conducted the latest poll, and a poll that was done by Fox News that was shared by him, as well as his Democrat colleague, Chris Anderson. The more interesting question is whether Biden can keep his standing among African Americans, Hispanics, and young voters, and boost his edge with independents. But as of now, 8 months out, it looks not good for Joe Biden. When voters are asked what issues would be most important when deciding their vote, almost 4 in 10 say the economy, 37%. Also receiving double digits are the two hot topics: immigration, 21%, and abortion, 10%. All others get single digits: healthcare, 7%, election integrity, 5%, climate change, crime, foreign policy, and guns receive 4% each. Economy voters back Trump by 14% margin. Among abortion voters, Biden beats Trump by 56 points. While immigration voters resoundingly go for Trump, plus 70%. The top issue among Democrats and independents is the economy, while Republicans split between the economy and immigration. Almost 8 in 10 voters say the situation at the southern border is either a major problem or an emergency, and 41% say it's an emergency, to 37 saying it's a major problem, and that Congress deserves a great deal, 52%, or some 29%, to blame on what's happening down there. To all those that voted in that poll, thank you. But let me just also tell you this much. If Joe Biden had not rescinded all of Trump's policies on day one with the border, we would not be having this problem. And Joe Biden would probably get reelected come November. But that's not going to happen because he's doubling down on stupid and continuing to blame Republicans for this problem. Fewer than still 7 in 10 say that the Biden administration's lack of enforcement is the cause of the situation at the U.S.-Mexican border. 47% say a great deal and 25% say some. Immigration is Biden's worst issue that was tested in all the polls. 31% approve of what he's done, 66%, and that's Republicans and Democrats, disapprove of the job Joe Biden has done on our southern border. He does slightly better, though. He remains considerably underwater on the Israel-Hamas war, 31 to 65. Inflation, 34 to 65. China, 35% to 61%. And the economy, 37% to 62%. Overall, 42% approve of the job Biden is doing, but 58% disapprove, which is about where the results were just this past December. But it's far below where he was near the start of his term, when it was 54% approval and 43% disapproval in April of 2021. Compared to where recent former presidents were at this time of the presidency, Biden's 42% job approval is below his predecessors. At the start of their re-election years, Trump was at 45% approval in 2020. Obama was at 45% in 2012, and Bush was at 53% in 2004. Trump is the only incumbent who wasn't reelected. In hindsight, voters are almost twice as likely to say Trump's policies helped their families, 45% during his presidency, than Biden, when they're saying is only 25%. In May 2019, only 32% said Trump's policies helped them. Yet, when looking back at that time, 45% now say that Trump was better with the economy than Biden was. And of course, we all know he was, but COVID came into this mix and just screwed up everything for Donald Trump. That increase comes not only from a 12-point surge among Republicans, but from his help numbers doubling among Democrats, +8, and independents, +15 from just 4 years ago. Meanwhile, just a quarter of voters today feel Biden's policies are helping them, as almost half say they are hurting. 48%, another quarter, 27%, say they don't make a difference. But Biden and Trump's mental soundness have been questioned this election cycle, as we all know. And while Americans have concerns about both candidates, it is hurting Biden more than it's hurting Trump. Some 47% say Trump has the mental soundness to serve as president, which is 10 points better than 37% who say Biden is up to the job. And here's the biggest kicker. Who he's got as his running mate, the current vice president of the United States. Vice President Harris numbers fare the worst in favorable rating test with a negative 23-point rating. That is why the Democrats in Washington, D.C. are freaking the hell out right now, looking at this going, what are we going to do? How do we turn this shit around? And one of the things that I have said, and I know many other conservatives have mentioned this, it's nothing new, and that is who is going to actually run against Donald Trump in November, and whether or not it will actually be Joe Biden, because I, for one, have said it's not going to be Joe Biden. The DNC knows there's no way in hell that this is going to be able to happen. Okay. He can't look, he kept tripping and almost ready to break his neck on the big boy stairs going into Air Force One. So they lowered it down to the little boy stairs going into Air Force One, and then working up through the elevator system once they get him inside the airplane. And now he can't even do that. He keeps tripping every time he tries to walk up those stairs. He's tripping on stages. He's shaking hands with people that aren't there. He's talking to dead people. He's babbling about things that have nothing to do with what the conversation is about at all. We're watching the unraveling, and it's sad. It really is. I think this will go down in history as the most cruelest form of humiliation of a human suffering from a mental illness, because his handlers and his wife refused to pull him down and say, we got to stop Joe. Instead, they keep pushing him out there to continue to make more and more mistakes, say more and more things that are complete and utter ridiculous, fall, trip, stutter, talk to dead people. The list goes on and on and on. You can see it. It's all over the internet. It's all over YouTube. You know, you couldn't make this shit up if you tried. And they continue to push him out there. But the DNC sees it. And they know this can't go on. Because when it comes time to debate, and by all means, it appears right now that debate will be with Donald J. Trump. There's no way they can put Biden on a stage right now. It just can't happen. He's mentally declined to a point that it is not an option for the Democrats. So we've been saying, who are they going to put there? And a lot of people, to include myself, have thought that it would be Michelle Obama. And that was a very a scary proposition, folks. The former president's wife, a black woman, very articulate, more so than Joe Biden, and would make it difficult in a way for Trump to attack without sounding like a racist bigot. Okay, so that was my biggest fear, that they're going to prop her up and put her in that position until this comes up. Good news as to who the DNC is not going to choose to take Biden's place and run against Donald J. Trump. Michelle Obama will not launch a bid for the White House, and rumors that the former First Lady was eyeing a presidential run, according to her own office. As former First Lady, Michelle Obama has expressed several times over the years, she will not be running for president. Crystal Carson, the director of communications for Michelle Obama's office, said in a statement that was provided today. Obama supports President Biden and Vice President Harris, her office said. Rumors of Obama's candidacy came as questions about Biden's mental capacity continue to swirl and get worse day by day. The rumors began to circulate after some Republicans floated the idea that she could be replacing Biden on the November ballot. Some political commentators said the former First Lady has the best chance of beating former President Donald Trump, who is the leading candidate to secure the GOP presidential nomination. Biden is struggling with low poll numbers and concerns from Republicans and some Democrats about his age and ability to lead the country. And then if you remember back in 2019, Michelle Obama at that time said there was zero chance that she would run for president. She was given an interview with the national magazine for Amtrak, and she said, just between us and the readers of this magazine, there's zero chance that I will run for president of the United States. She said, there is so many ways to improve this country and build a better world, and I keep doing plenty of them, from working with young people to helping families lead healthier lives. But sitting behind a desk in the Oval Office will never be one of them. It's just not for me. Now, I kid you not, this is a sigh of relief, folks, for those of us who have been following this upcoming election like our life depends on it, to know that she's not an option. Now, who does that leave? Think about it. At the last minute, the DNC decides they're going to pull Joe. Say, you just can't do this, pal. We're sorry. And it's up to them. It ain't up to Joe Biden. All right. The DNC will make this call. The only other person I can think of that would stand a chance that Democrats would rally behind would be that far left, liberal, anti-gun, anti-border security, anti-law enforcement, anti-military, anti-veteran, anti-constitution piece of crap in California. The California governor, Gavin Newsom. That's the only person left. And Newsom is all over the place right now, folks. If you're not paying attention to it, you should. He is talking to everybody that will put a camera in his face. And I do believe that's the October surprise for the DNC to come. Because there's nobody else. And there's not enough time to prop anyone else up for that position. Now, that being said, if any Democrat or any liberal really studied what Gavin Newsom has done to the state of California, there'd be no way in fucking hell they could vote for him to be president of the United States. He has single-handedly destroyed the state of California. One man and his administration had done everything in their power. They're even running off big tech, for crying out loud. It's a sad situation. But either Joe Biden is going to have a mental breakdown between now and November, something's going to happen to him health-wise where he can't continue to run, or they're going to realize the writing on the wall and fake it and say he can't do it, or the DNC is just going to flat out pull him and put somebody else in there. But I do not see right now, and I've been saying this since he took office, back when the night of election, right here, you heard me say Joe Biden will not go through his whole 4 years. It's not going to happen. Now, I could be wrong. We only got a few more months left. But every day, more and more major gaffes happen. And now we even have other countries laughing at him and making skits and in their own members of parliament and stuff, doing Joe Biden jokes. I mean, he's the laughing stock of the world at the moment. And that's pretty damn sad to know that our president of the United States is not taken serious by anyone but liberals and Democrats. The Biden administration has told us time and time again that they are in talks with the head of the Border Patrol 24/7. And even Joe Biden has spoken with the head guy, they claim. Well, that's interesting, because the former chief of the U.S. Border Patrol told 60 Minutes that President Biden never spoke to him during his 2 years on the job. Neither did Vice President Kamala Harris, who was tapped, as you know, as administrative border czar by President Biden in May of 2021. Raul Ortiz served as the U.S. Chief of Border Patrol under President Biden and Deputy Chief under former President Trump before retiring in May of 2023. In an interview that aired this past Sunday, Ortiz trashed politicians, Republicans, and Democrats alike who engage in media ops in a 2-mile stretch while neglecting hundreds of miles of open border. But he expressed particular frustration for the president, saying that in his 2 years in office, I've never had one conversation with Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. I was the chief of Border Patrol. I commanded 21,000 people, Border Patrol agents. That's a problem, he said. Ortiz said the U.S. needs to send a clear message to Central and South America that they will be sent back if they do not have a legitimate asylum claim, although Biden will never do such a thing. Asked if he believed the White House has sent mixed messages to migrants, he said, most definitely. Ortiz presided over Border Patrol during the most high-profile incidents, including the 15,000 Haiti migrants on the bridge in Del Rio, agents being falsely accused of whipping illegal aliens from their horseback, the end of Title 42 explosions, and record-setting illegal crossings. Ortiz testified under oath in March of 2023 during a House-billed hearing in McAllen, Texas, that the border is not secure, no matter what Homeland Security tells you. Administration officials have said Ortiz was invited to meet with Biden during his trip to the border in January of 2023, but he did not attend. And that, my friends, is a lie. His interview comes after Biden and Trump made dueling trips to the southern border, as you all know, underscoring how central the border is to the 2024 presidential election. President Biden with Jason Owens, the current U.S. Border Patrol chief, on his visit last week. So at least Joe Biden is meeting with his predecessor. My friends, a massive human trafficking bust has taken place in Florida, resulting in 228 arrests, including in the arrestees, members of the United States military, a teacher. Polk County Sheriff's Grady Judge said 150 suspects, or Johns, were arrested along with 66 prostitutes and 12 others in a multi-agency operation dubbed Operation March Sadness 2024. Among the suspects were a school teacher, coaches for schools, active duty military members, and other professionals. Of the 228 individuals arrested, 21 were in the country illegally. Authorities also identified at least 13 potential human trafficking victims. The sheriff noted that within 1 year performing these types of operations, 58 human trafficking victims have been identified. One suspect, who was trying to pay $150 to have sex with a woman, told authorities that he was a volleyball coach from New York who tutored middle school students. Another man arrested was a math and science teacher at New Beginnings High School in Arbondale, according to the sheriff. He came to have sex with what he thought was going to be a child. He called it a quick visit for $60. Well, since he's able to teach math, he can figure out that it didn't add up this time. 3 men connected to the United States Air Force were also arrested in the sting. One was an Air Force staff sergeant, another an airman police officer, and the third was a 19-year-old scheduled to begin his Air Force training in May. I don't think he's going to be there. But under this administration, maybe he will. A former detention deputy with the Polk County Sheriff's Office was also arrested. Dude, what are you doing? Judd asked. You went from being a stellar employee to committing moral crimes, and it's just in 2 months. He said, I got a problem. No kidding. You've got a big problem. 2 brothers, aged 16 and 17, were also arrested after showing up to the bus armed with BB guns and wearing ski masks and hoodies to commit an armed robbery against a detective posing as an underage prostitute they met online. This is a new record number of arrests during an investigation of this kind, adding that social service organizations will help the female victims so that they can break free from this way of life. Personally, they should all be castrated. But that's just my personal opinion. A new report from the Center for Immigration Studies shows that President Joe Biden's administration flew roughly 320,000 illegal immigrants into 43 different U.S. airports from multiple foreign airports last year, allowing the Biden administration to bypass border security data by directly transporting illegal immigrants into the U.S. from other countries. Think about that for a moment. This administration got aircraft and went to other countries to get the illegal aliens, 320,000 of them, and flew them to 48 different U.S. airports. And of course, I recently told you why they're doing shit like this and why they're allowing them to come across the border the way they are. And that's because the more they can put into certain areas, illegal or not, they get counted in census. When they get counted in census, what does that give you? It helps build up more people to be in Congress for that district. And if they happen to be one of them, such as Rashid Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, who won because they're Middle Eastern, and that's where the Obama administration pumped in Middle Eastern people, guess what? Now you got terrorist sympathizers in Congress. Same things happen with this. They're doing this for votes, my friends. That's what the Democrats are doing. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, the report was uncovered as a result of a Freedom of Information Act, a lawsuit that they filed by the organization. The Center for Immigration Studies noted the public now knows that U.S. Customs and Border Protection were approved by the Biden White House to do secretive flights that last year alone ferried hundreds of thousands of aliens from foreign airports into some 43 American ones over the past year, all pre-approved on a cell phone app that our Homeland Security put out for these illegals. The 320,000 illegal immigrants flown into the United States by the Biden administration added to the unprecedented level of illegal immigrants encountered by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The new report indicates that the Biden administration was able to bypass border security data by transporting them directly from their home states or home countries to American cities. On Center for Immigration Studies lawsuit forced the Biden administration to disclose the number of illegal immigrants flown into the United States. The organization said Customs and Border Protection has refused to reveal information regarding which airports were used to transport the illegal immigrants. CBP has withheld from the center and apparently will not disclose the names of the 43 U.S. airports that received 320,000 illegal aliens from January through December of last year, nor the foreign airports for which they departed. Center for Immigration Studies said, according to the Center for Immigration Studies, the program used by the Biden administration to fly illegal immigrants into the U.S. was part of the expansion of the CBP One app, which was launched in the beginning of 2023. The organization claimed that the transportation of illegal immigrants directly into the U.S. is one of the least reported features of the CBP One app. The program at the center of this of the Freedom of Information Act is perhaps the most endemic and least known of the Biden administration's use of the CBP One cell phone schedule app, even though it is responsible for almost invisibly importing by air 320,000 aliens with no legal right to enter the United States since it got underway in late 2022. So this is not something that just started yesterday. Joe Biden's administration has been doing this for quite some time now. So besides the fact that they're flowing across our fucking border, and Biden is only now starting to wake up about it to do something because we're coming up on an election. He hasn't given a shit the rest of the time. And then all along, they were going to other countries, putting out information to get them to, hey, you want to go to America for free? Come on down to the airport. We're going to take you, and fly them into America. Absolute insanity. And that in itself should be a form of treason, for crying out loud. Oh, man. I have been talking for quite some time now about the nuclear threats that we face here in America and across the globe. When I went into the Army in 1985, we trained to fight a war with Russia. I mean, that was the plan. The Cold War was going on at that time. And the hope was that nuclear weapons would not be used, but we would just use conventional forces and we would fight Russia. Of course, we all know that if nuclear weapons are used, then that's over with because we would destroy our planet. My father served during the Cold War as well. He's a Korean veteran and a Vietnam veteran. I have several uncles and cousins that served during the Cold War prior to my service. And of course, relatives that were in World War II. When it comes to the Cold War, this is something that when Ronald Reagan was able to get the Berlin Wall to come down and finally get Russia to come to the negotiation table to sign treaties to say that we will never, ever launch one of these weapons as a first strike option. And he managed to get Russia to agree to destroy bomber aircraft that would carry the weapons, decommission missile silos. And we did it together. We had to do it with our aircraft and our missile silos, and they did it with theirs. And this check and verify back and forth between the two countries. And we eliminated a whole bunch of nuclear weapons. And then we came out of the Cold War. And for you ask any veteran that served during the Cold War, they will tell you that when the Cold War ended, it was this major monkey on our back that was lifted. We were very thankful and grateful that our generation and generations to come were not looking at a nuclear holocaust, because the nuclear weapons of today make what happened during World War II that ended it with Japan, make that look like a fucking firecracker. All right. These weapons today are like 100 times more powerful than what we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. One can take out an entire state, literally. And that's pretty damn scary. So since Ronald Reagan, every president since Ronald Reagan has saw to it that we kept that peace and we kept the Cold War at bay. And we did things to more or less bring a type of I don't want to say a friendship, but a respect for our Russian partners. Our military forces, even though Russia is not part of NATO, our military forces would go over and do exchanges with Russia. And they would come over here to America and do exchanges with our military forces. We had a working kind of relationship and certain different conflicts that we were involved with. Russia played a big part in the first Gulf War. There's, when we did away with the space shuttle, we didn't have a program to get astronauts up into space. So we hitched rides on Soviet rockets with their space program. And for many years, that's how we got our astronauts up and down to and from the International Space Station. So we had this working relationship with Russia, with American companies, with Washington, D.C., which is why it was so surprising when all this crap came out with, the Democrats trying to condemn Donald Trump for, being in bed with Russia, so to speak. When Obama was, when every president going back to Reagan was, they didn't say nothing then. It was a trust but verify type relationship that we had. While they were still our enemy per se, we had open door policy with them. Americans could go vacation in Russia if you had a passport, and vice versa. You didn't have to worry about being arrested and charged as a spy, for crying out loud. That's not the same anymore. So, since all this stirred up with Donald Trump, it continued to get worse. Joe Biden comes along and he lands a slap dab right back into the Cold War. And the world is at war right now. He started pouring billions of dollars worth of military equipment into Ukraine to stop Russia from invading them and allow them to fight, because without our aid in Ukraine and NATO's aid, there'd be no way possible for Ukraine to survive 48 hours. Russia would have taken them out. But because we supplied them with our tanks, our airplanes, helicopters, beams, bullets, missiles, everything you can think of, state-of-the-art military equipment, we were basically fighting Russia, their military, via Ukraine, because it's our equipment that's doing it. And we're training the Ukrainians to use it. And that's pushing us even closer and closer to a nuclear holocaust. Every day, we have members of the Russian parliament, members of Putin's administration, openly saying, you're fixing to push our last button and we're going to nuke the hell out of everybody. Now, Yes, Russia has more nuclear weapons than we do. They have more than anyone. But it only takes one, for crying out loud. Okay, you don't need all of these. All of these would disintegrate the earth, all right, if they all went off at the same time. But anyhow, let's talk about what's happening right now that sadly a lot of the news is just not covering anymore. I don't know if it's because they don't want to scare you. And it's scary, but at the same time, folks, you need to know this, all right? Because there's an election coming up. And this guy that's in office right now, he's put us back into the Cold War, knee deep into the Cold War, and dependent on foreign countries for oil and gas. It's scary. There is relative peace in the world, so to speak, but exists on the delicate balance that may crumble soon as Russia is now threatening nuclear war. According to Russian President Vladimir Putin, he said it several times now, the West is risking nuclear war if it sends troops to Ukraine. Now, where do you get this from? He knows that we're bringing Ukrainian troops to America and we're training them to use our equipment. And now we have the French president coming out saying that he's on board with sending troops, NATO troops, into Ukraine to help finish pushing Russia out. In his State of the Union address, Vladimir Putin claimed that NATO and the U.S. were gearing up to strike Russian territory. He said, they must realize that we also have weapons that can hit targets on their territory. All this really threatens a conflict with the use of nuclear weapons and the destruction of civilization as we know it. Don't they get it? He said. This is not the first time Putin has threatened nuclear war, but the world is taking him more seriously as time passes. According to Putin, he's got a new RS-28 Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile known as the Saturn II, and it's fully operational. As tensions continue to escalate, here are some locations in the United States that Russia would likely target in a nuclear war, according to the CIA and the Pentagon. Obviously, the Pentagon. This is the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense, located in Arlington, Virginia. Naval Station Norfolk, Virginia, houses the U.S. Largest naval base. Comfort Suites Kings Bay Naval Base, which is located in Georgia. It is home of the United States Navy. Barksdale Air Force Base, Shreveport, Louisiana. It is the home of the U.S. 2nd Bomb Wing. Whitman Air Force Base, which is in Missouri, where they have the U.S. B-2 stealth bombers and strategic bomber aircraft, B-1s, B-52s. United States Strategic Command. Strategic Command is another likely target. It is responsible for things such as nuclear deterrence and cyber defense. It's in Nebraska. The LFV Avery, which is located in Hawaii. It distributes military orders to submarines underwater. Kirkland Air Force Base, which is the Air Force Materials Command Nuclear Weapons Center. It's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. 21st Force Support Squadron, which is part of the U.S. Space Force. It's in Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It is one of 3 strategic missile bases in the United States. Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. It is where the U.S. 5th Bomb Wing is located. The force is used to maintain and operate B-52H bombers. Hill Air Force Base, which is in Davis County, Utah. It's the Air Force Materials Command. Marshall Air Force Base, which is in Montana. It houses the 341st Missile Wing and Intercontinental Missile Unit. And last, Naval Radio Station Jim Creek. Naval Radio Station Jim Creek mainly deals with one-way communication to submarines, and it's based in Washington State. So basically, this is all of America. When you consider that one ICBM missile basically can take out an entire state, and the neighboring state is affected with the fallout. So if you live in Washington State, Montana, Utah, North Dakota, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, Hawaii, Missouri, Nebraska, Louisiana, Georgia, Virginia, DC, or a bordering state to those, you'll be the first to be evaporated. You can thank Joe Biden for putting America right back into the Cold War with Russia, because that is exactly what he has done. I have a lot of mixed emotions about the war in Ukraine. One side of me says, I agree with with our speaker today, that Speaker Johnson, that we can't keep spending money like this, depleting our military sources and sending billions of dollars to Ukraine when we won't secure our own damn border. The other side of me says, because I know the strategics of this and what Russia's plan is, if they can take Ukraine, they're going to continue to move and march forward. And they want to take more and more territory. Either way, if they continue this, we're going to probably end up physically fighting Russia again. It's a no-win situation. Damn it if you do, damn it if you don't. And it's all because of Joe Biden. How many wars were we in when Donald Trump was president for 4 years? Think about it. The left and the Democrats screamed and hollered at the top of their lungs, this man's a loose cannon. He's going to get us in a war with North Korea. He's going to get us in get us in a war with Russia. He's going to get us in a war with Iran. He's going to get us in a nuclear war. He's going to get us all killed. No, he brought peace to the world. He got North Korea to stand down. He got Iran to stand down. He got China to freaking stand down. He got Russia to stand down and not invade Ukraine. We had peace. And now the world's on fire. One man, one administration. Joe Biden is to blame for that. Folks, you had a many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Please tell your friends and family about the show. Share the show. Share the videos that I have with your friends and family on your other social media platforms. Tuesdays and Thursdays, right here at 8 p.m. Central, an event that I'm not going to be doing a show because of some other thing that happens, whether it's a sickness or an injury or something that's happening that I've got to attend to, that I can't do the show since I'm a one-man operation these days, that I put something in my community section to let you know that the show won't be aired, or up on Facebook or the other places you can follow me, which are in the description below of this and all my shows and all my videos, the other places you can follow me on social media. Follow me there. I'll do the same for you in return. That's how we spread the word about conservative values and what's really happening in our country and what American patriots and all patriots need to know and be aware of. Thank you so much for joining me as always. Please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America. And may God bless each and every one of you. Thank you, folks. And I'll see you back here Thursday night, same time. Take care.